Good evening, this is Jeb Stuart Cruse welcoming y'all to Conservative Studios News Special Report.
Baseball star Alex Rodriguez admitting he used performance-enhancing drugs. In an interview with ESPN, he says he used them from 2001 to 2003 while he was with the Texas Rangers.
I was young, I was stupid, I was naive, and I wanted to prove to everyone that, I was worth, and being one of the greatest players of all time. And I did take a banned substance, and for that I'm very sorry and deeply regretful. When I arrived in Texas in 2001, I felt an enormous amount of pressure. I felt like I had all the weight of the world on top of me, and I needed to perform at a high level every day. Back then it was a different culture. It was very loose. I was young, I was stupid, I was naive, and I wanted to prove to everyone that I was worth and being one of the greatest players of all time. And I did take a banned substance, and for that I'm very sorry and deeply regretful.
The New York Yankees admission comes after Sports Illustrated reported he tested positive for steroids 6 years ago. CNN Sports' Larry Smith joins us live over the phone with some reaction. Larry, this has really stunned the sports community and sports fans at large.
Well, it is still, I think the sports community still is reeling. I spoke with a couple of PR people earlier today, and they agreed that this was the best move that Alex Rodriguez could make. There is really no winning in continuing to remain silent. Spring training comes up here in a couple of weeks. It would be the topic of every time a reporter anywhere talked to anyone within the Yankees organization, or anyone in baseball for that matter. It would continue and would continue on. He's 33 years old. He'll be 34 this summer. He's currently 12th on the all-time home run list. Many believe he will eventually surpass Barry Bonds and become the all-time home run leader. Now the question is this enough to repair his reputation? He is young enough where he can put some distance between himself and prove that he is one of the greatest players while clean. Other players, their names remain tarnished, and now we'll see if this move will help him clear his name in time.
And you were mentioning the home run record. As far as punishment goes, legally, how are those steps going to be taken? And also, people are saying, what about that $30 million bonus he was supposed to receive from the Yankees for breaking that home run record? Should that be revoked?
Well, first with the punishment, keep in mind how this happened. It happened in 2003, and the reason for this testing was baseball did not have any kind of steroid policy. And they went to the players' union and said, hey, we need to determine how widespread is the problem. We want to do these tests. We'll keep them anonymous. We agree that there will be no punishment for those who do test positive. That's what happened for this test. So there won't be any punishment from him. In terms of the Yankees and their bonus, that'll be worked out by the players' union, by A-Rod's people, by the Yankees. My honest opinion, I would be surprised if that is taken away in any time, because this was 6 years ago. If he is tested clean in the time since then, there'd be really no basis to rescind that to take that money back.
Is there any way for him to get into the Hall of Fame now that he's admitted to taking steroids?
Well, that's now the big question. Again, at 33, almost 34 years old, you figure he's got another 5 or 6 years left that he can play and be relatively successful. So his first ballot in the Hall of Fame is going to come up 5 years after that, let's say in the year 2020. Will that be enough time that will have passed? Who knows? We do have short memories overall, but then again, these are the baseball writers of America who have not shown Mark McGwire any love at all for his alleged steroid use. And keep in mind, we talk about the great players of the past 15 years. Now, all four have had their names linked with steroid use. Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Mark McGwire, and now Alex Rodriguez. Only A-Rod has come clean to say, yes, I did this. The other three have still steadfastly denied it, and even despite those denials and without any actual proof, the stigma still remains, and the memories of their careers are still tarnished. The question now, the one thing he has in his advantage this time,
Well, this brings me to this question. What about those 103 other players who apparently tested positive? This was supposed to be anonymous. Clearly, A-Rod is the one we're talking about. But what about those 103 players? It looked like 104 tested positive.
Right, and there were 104, and that's the question. Again, these became public because of the Balco trial and the federal government trying to catch Barry Bonds in a perjury case in that Balco trial. They subpoenaed these records to try to get just the 10 names of those people who testified in the Balco trial. They got all 104, and so even before this revelation came out in the Sports Illustrated article, the Players Union was already going after the government, saying, hey, listen, you didn't need all 104 files, only the 10. A-Rod did not testify. He was not one of the 10. So, you know, the others you would think would remain anonymous. That fight now continues for all those people because, again, that was the parameters of this. Even if those names do come out, there is no penalty from baseball because of the agreement under which those tests were administered.
No penalty in the court of law, but perhaps in the court of public opinion.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, and that's the thing right now. And I'm curious, I would love to know what counsel Alex Rodriguez sought in doing this. You know, the one name, the one marquee player that is not often talked about when you start reeling off names of players associated with steroids, again, alleged steroid use, is Andy Pettitte, who quickly came clean and said, yes, I had an injury. I took, for a brief period, took some performance enhancers to regain my time from, regain my strength from injury. And that really isn't really talked about. So the question is coming clean and bearing your soul, is that good for the soul and good for your future and your image? Only time will tell.
Time will tell. Definitely we'll find out in hindsight. Larry Smith, thanks so much for checking in with some reaction there.
Okay, sure thing.
Y'all been watching a special report from Conservative Studios News. This here is Jeb Stuart Cruse saying good night and good news, especially after Obama gets himself impeached. And reminding y'all to support the great American Governor Sarah Palin as she runs for president in the year 2012. In your heart, you know she's right.
With Russia as Putin rears his head and comes into the airspace of the United States of America, where do they go? It's Alaska. It's just right over the border. It is from Alaska that we send those out to make sure that an eye is being kept on this very powerful nation.